going to do is going to be really important for bringing a mental game into the tournament. And so we're going to do a quick recap on methods to manage pressure in the moment, and then we're going to move on to process goals. So what I want to do is I'm going to start with something that didn't quite come across in translation last week, and then we're going to move on into actually how do you bring, there's some tools that you can bring into games. So we're going to start by just watching this video, and then we're going to go into an explanation of what we're seeing. So just have a quick watch on this as a recap.
Ron meditating there on the bench.
He's in
Becoming present.
He's in that calm app.
Yep.
That he advertises.
Is there a 1 minute to go in a 3-point game meditation that he can do? Probably.
I think he's going to take the free throws.
Okay. And so if we go forward, and I asked last week around why is he doing this, and then we've got a bit of an explanation coming up about actually why he's doing this during the game. Okay, let's get out of this. Okay, so what he goes on to explain is that we've got him in an interview afterwards. So let's get this slide going for you.
We've seen you in heated playoff series be sitting on the bench, completely still, completely calm, eyes closed, collecting yourself. How have mental exercises like that helped you succeed in your career?
I think it's helped tremendously, Dave. I mean, to be able to be in a packed arena on the road, 20,000, 22,000 people, screaming fans, going crazy, the level of the pressure of the game, to be able to find a moment, 2 minutes or 1 minute or whatever, 30 seconds to be able to just to close my eyes and just kind of relax myself and calm myself, take deep breaths, give myself an opportunity just to have an inner personal self. It's like it's meditation, basically. Has worked, tremendously for me.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you guys taking from that, from what he's saying? So just ask you guys some questions now. We're a smaller group in the room around. Why is he doing that? What are some things that are making sense to you about why he's using that breathing technique?
Just to calm himself down. Obviously he's got a really big crowd, so taking that 30 seconds, however long, just to calm himself down and get into routine and a good mindset.
The reason that this works is that it's not necessarily around what you believe or what you think about the breathing. Of course, that helps, and it helps us choose it. But actually, when we're breathing and we're doing a slow breath in through our nostrils and through our throat, and when we're slowing the breath out, we're actually innervating or stimulating a nerve called the vagus nerve, and that's going to serve to slow our heart rate. It's going to serve to calm our body down. And when our body does that, it calms our brain down and it gives us some mental space back. So we're going to go through 3 breathing techniques now that we're going to try. And then I'll talk to you around, I'll ask you guys to think about when could you use these different breath techniques in a game. And then, as I say, we'll go and then weave that into how you can use them to bring yourself back into the game. So are you ready to start? Everyone can see okay? So the first breath that we're going to do is the 4-2-6, and you'll see on the slide to explain what this is. So it's 4-2-6 breathing. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for the count of 4, and then hold for the count of 2, and then slowly exhale on the count of 6. So the slow exhale is about just often when you're in a performance moment, which we'll practice now, you've got to purse your lips to actually restrict your breathing to slow that out breath down. That's the easiest way to slow your breath down. If you want to do that another way, that's fine. But the easiest way is just purse your lips and to slow that breath down. So I'll use my finger to count to the 4-2-6 breathing. We're ready to go? Okay, so breathing in on the up. hold. Okay, so we'll do that once more. So I'll just count you to breathing in, and on the hold, really hold it tight. See how much breath you can get in on the 4 count. Really hold that breath tight, and then slowly letting go on the out breath this time. Okay, so ready. So breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold tight. 1, 2, and then slowly out. Let the pressure off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so call out what are your experiences of doing that. Is you can just chuck a hand up or a hand up reaction of who's feeling the body relax when you do that exercise on the out breath. Yeah. Who's noticing that the mind relaxes a little bit on the out breath? Yeah. Okay. So think about the duration of that one. I'm going to get you guys into some pairs to talk about when you could use that breath. All right, so we'll lean into the next one, and the next one's a bit slower, and it's going to be 6, 6 by 6 is what we're calling it. 6 in and 6 out. Okay, so for this one, we're just going to be breathing in for the count of 6 all the way, and then breathing out for the count of 6 all the way. Okay, so you ready? All right, so in slowly, out, in for 6, out for 6, and I'll just count you in, just slowing your breathing. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Any differences that you guys have noticed? If you notice how you feel after that 6, 6 by 6 breathing, yeah, any differences you're noticing from that last one compared to the first one? I'll just look around the room. Can anyone like maybe chuck a hand up if you can, and if you can feel any difference of those two breathing techniques, noticing any difference between them?
We
Please do.
found you get much more relaxed.
Mm.
Yeah, the body's much more calmer and just blows everything out basically, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of clearing things out. It takes a lot longer, and you're much calmer in your body and mind. And so look, the last one we're going to use is much shorter, and it's something that is going to be a quicker, shorter technique. And so this one is just a pressure breath. And so it's a way to harness the pressure. So if you just adjust your posture so you're a little bit more upright for this breath, maybe sitting up on your seat. If you want to stand up, then that's good too. And so it's just a breathe all the way in, and then we're going to breathe a little bit more. So I'll just demonstrate. So I'll breathe all the way in, and then you can just always draw a little bit more breath in. So you want to have a go at that one. So we'll breathe all the way in as far as you can. All right. So that's the technique. So you're going to go all the way in, and then just a little bit more, and then it's like letting go a valve, or like letting go the opening of the balloon. So it's just so the breath is allowed to like flow out of you. Okay, so it's pressure breath. So we're going to apply the pressure and then release the pressure. You with me? All right, let's give it a go. So breathe all the way in, bit more. All right. So what I'm going to get you to do is to get into groups, and you're just going to, for 2 minutes or one or 2 minutes, just think about as many the best situations, not as many actually, the best situations you can think of where you're going to use that breath. And I'll
We talked about how it was
kind of like the middle length between them all, and
Yeah.
how it's probably not short enough to use on the court, but definitely like in timeouts or like quarter time. It's
Yeah.
probably where we would probably use that one the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And other people's thoughts on that in terms of your experience of the 4-2-6. So rooms 2 and 3, I will come back to the other breaths, of course, but just while we're on the 4-2-6, room 2 and 3, yeah, anything to add? Does that make sense to you, or do you think there is situations when you could use it on court? Anyone got anything to add to that? Room 1, Katie, Madeline, Shamar, any thoughts?
You know the 4-2-6, is that like just one time? Like, do you...
Yeah, I think that's something you could do. You can do it over and over again, of course, but
Yeah.
the duration is that one time duration of breath. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like if your teammate's shooting 2 free throws and like we're just waiting, that could be a good time to do the 4-2-6.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So there's those pauses in play,
Yeah,
or
because that gives
someone
us like
shooting free throws. Yeah, go ahead.
shooting 2. That gives us a bit time to like do the 4-2-6. 12
Put
seconds
down.
is enough.
Yeah, I've just
Like,
put that into the wrong box. Yeah. So while someone's shooting free throws, yeah. Any other thoughts? Room 3. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any thoughts? Room 3, Amelia, Mani, when you could use that 4-2-6 breath.
No, I would just agree with Shema on that one during breaks.
That maybe not when you're in play, when the ball's in play and court, but yeah, in breaks between play and maybe the timeout. Okay. All right. So room 2, you guys are up. So Katie, Madeline, Shamar, thinking about that 6-6 by 6. So if you're doing, 6 rounds of the 6 by 6 breathing, what do you think about that?
We said like half time, quarter time, or a timeout.
Or timeout? Yeah. And why? How would you be using it during those times? What would you be using that for? Think about a half time. So when in half time could you use that? When would be useful to do that?
Like maybe when you're first coming out of like going into it just to like catch your breath back. But
Yeah.
also you can do it going out of it, like to then like shift your mindset and lock back in.
Yeah. So I think that you're coming up with something really important there, that if you're coming off into quarter time, even if you're coming off onto the bench, there's an opportunity, you can be running pretty hot. So before you get into conversations, before you start to digest the game, you can reset, refocus. And then again, half time, you've done a lot of thinking, talking, and then doing something you can get yourself back in the zone, in the present again before you go back out if you need to as well. So what we say on arrival in rooms at half time or before going back out. Yeah, anyone else got anything to add? So room 3, room 1, what do you think about that when you think about that longer period? You could use it before you go out half time. Any other thoughts on when you could use that?
Yeah, I have one. Like also before the game,
Yeah.
like just to get rid of all those nerves, like especially if it's a big game, going into like a final or something, just taking those breaths just to kind of reset and just take in the moment.
Think to that. I think that's a great idea, Sienna. So I'll just let other people elaborate on that a little bit more. So before the game, when you think about your routines, is that when you first arrive at the court, or, if you're overseas in a tournament, maybe in your hotel before you get on the bus? Yeah, what are you thinking? Anyone got any thoughts about how they'd use that? Yeah. Okay, well, look, there's a couple of suggestions. We're just going to go to that pressure breath as well. So room 3, I think that was just Amelia and Imani. What did you come up there with that pressure breath?
Obviously it's the shortest out of them all, so we discussed and said that it would probably be better if we did it during like on court and any breaks or stops. So like maybe if the ball goes out of, if there's just any type of stop in the play, then you could do it then, just as a quick reset and just so then you ground yourself a bit.
Yeah. So that'd be out of bounds. Other people's thoughts if you're hearing what Imani's saying. Yeah, so if Imani put down out of bounds there for grounding yourself. Any other people's thoughts on when you could use that during a game, just picking up what Imani's saying? Maybe group 1, Areta, Liz, Sienna, Maurice, or group 2. Yeah, guys, any thoughts on that? So an out of bounds, could you give me some other situations when that might be useful? If you can think of that.
During free throws?
Yeah, again, during free throws, if you want to take less time. Any other thoughts?
I was gonna say like your shots aren't going in, or like you're having kind of a bad night. Maybe the refs are like giving you bad calls, like just a pressure breath just to like release it and just explain mentality, like get over it.
Yeah, that you could actually use that after mistakes or problems just to reset. If I just put that after mistakes or problems, does that kind of capture it? And then you know that tension's building. Look, I think these are brilliant answers, and so I think they're really great examples of how we can use different methods at different times, but it's about finding those opportunities when you can do those resets yourself. So look, with that in mind, I'm going to move us on to the next point that we're going to take away into next week. So I'm going to start the presentation again and give you guys this. Can you guys see this, the big slide at the moment? Sorry, Sienna Maurice, can you see that whole screen at the moment rather than just the slide pack? Yeah. So we got this idea of choice points. And so we're going to go through the game, and we've talked about some of those opportunities. Something's happened. The game could either go away, and we came up with that idea. We can either shift away from what we want if we're caught up in our emotions and our emotions are controlling us and pushing our attention around and we don't realize. Then we can see over on the left-hand side what can happen. Are any of these looking familiar, where you can go into worrying about the result? Overthinking is another really common one. Fear of mistakes, and these are taken from sports in general and my work in basketball in the past. Comparing yourself to others, or yourself to what you think would happen in the game, a past or a future focus, so what's going to happen at the end of the game, and then that tight body and rush breath can start to happen. And so it's not a problem that we're getting that tension. This is our whole thing, is that sometimes it's not as comfortable when we're in these pressure games as it is, but they're still the games we really want to be in. So then if we can, the first part is just being able to accept that. And once we can identify, if we're pre-warned, we're pre-armed. So identify what's happening, know the situations where those feelings are going to start to come up. And then that's the A, and then the B is the breathe. So we've got those different techniques to breathe and open our attention back up. And remembering it's not about being calm necessarily or feeling good. It's about being able to reset ourselves in the moment. And then the C of the ABC is that choice. So choose, commit, your cues. So what's going to be your next action? What are you going to tell yourself to lock yourself back in? And so when we're doing that, when we see on the right-hand side, it's all about now and next, isn't it? And what's going to really help us know how to get into now and next. And it's really simple. It's just knowing something that we can focus on to get back into the game. Okay, so I'll give you this poster to take away with you when you're going overseas. And I think if you have this, you'll get this slide. You can put this up at home. You can put this up in a team room. And just as those reminders about the process that you can go through. But to do that, what's going to make that a lot more practical is this next step that we're going to move to, which is finding the choice points and then knowing what we're going to focus on. So we're going to go through this quite quickly. I'm just going to get you into 2 groups. And so if you remember that choice point that you're in, that moment when you can use your ABC or you can lock back in and move towards the player you want to be, get the outcomes that you want, or you can travel off into the red. And so I'm going to break you into two groups and think about in your experience of going into important tournaments or big tournaments, what are those choice points when you could go either way? So what are those pressure situations, or what are those moments or events you might find yourself in? So the first group's going to do on the court, and then the other group's going to do off the court as well. Okay, so let's get you guys into some breakout rooms. Recreate those into two. Okay, and then if you can just click OK on those breakout rooms, and then that'll take you there. And just again, we're a quick list of choice points on the court and then off the court from you guys' experience. Get a little bit creative and we'll see what we can come up with. Over to you. On the court, yeah, what did you guys come up with as those choice points? Who's gonna go from this?
We just said like being locked into your own game and like focusing on yourself and your role to help the team.
Yeah. And what are any of those situations or pressure events or situations or moments when you need to do that, when you're going to feel that pressure come up and you've got that opportunity to use that ABC to lock back in?
Just foul troubles or like tight game.
Yeah. So if we break that down a bit, if you think about a tight game, what would be those moments in a tight game when that might come up? Maybe things that we've mentioned before. Rather than keep you on the spot, Katie, I'm thinking some of those things that come up, if that's right, around after mistakes or when the opposition's got a run of scores. Could be last quarter. It could be, when it's down to a 2-point game. Yeah, other people, any thoughts about those moments or situations on the court where you might feel yourself go towards the red? Shema, Madeleine, Amelia, or room 2. Any others with any other thoughts about those situations? I listed them all, or let's move to room 2 and off the court. Any of those situations off the court where you might need to reset, where you're going to notice that pressure? What did you guys come up with in room 2?
We're talking about before the game. I feel like that's when I feel, and we find in the other girls, that we feel the most pressure before the game, like the mindset of playing well and starting the game well is probably the hardest part for all of us. Because I feel like once we start the game, that builds a lot of pressure off of us and relief, I think.
Yeah.
And the most relief when we finish the game, or if we do have a good run. But yeah, off court, probably also the warm up, making sure our bodies are ready.
Yeah.
For the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think in those situations, that's really relatable, isn't it? I'm sure the first group can see that. Then your mind can start to go to, will I play well? Will I start well?
Yes.
And the thing to remembering about playing well and starting well, that it's a judgment, not an action.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an uncontrollable. And we know that to play well, just so many other things have got to happen. But our minds are really good at focusing on controllables. But playing well, starting well is a judgment. So I think while those feelings are going to come up, we can use our reset to acknowledge that, accept that, breathe into it. And then that C is what we want to choose and come back to, which is always going to be an action. And thanks very much for that intro, because that's where we're going to lead into next. So if we think about, you might have seen a Formula One race, and we'll have touched on this as an analogy if you guys came through the under-16s workshops last year as well. And you guys have all seen a Formula One team in a pit stop where they're changing the tires. The pit stop, if you imagine it, you know that there's a crew of people doing different jobs in the pit lane, somebody changing the wheels, somebody changing the fuel, somebody taking the the lugs off the wheel so they can get the wheel off, somebody lifting the car up. And they're trying to do that in 2 seconds. Now, everybody's got a specific job, but what happens if one person doesn't know what their job is or isn't able to focus on it? They're not going to be able to do that in 2 seconds. And so that's 2 seconds is really the outcome that they're looking for in terms of the speed of doing it. Then if we just say, all right, well, I want to do a pit stop in 2 seconds, that's actually not really going to help us much at all, because it's a thought and it's an outcome, but it doesn't give us anything controllable that we can actually do. So what we're going to be looking to do instead is to be able to focus on something we can break down in the middle where we've got a performance goal, which is something that we can focus on to try and break that overall objective down into something that's achievable for us individually. So you can see there's the pit stop is completed under 2 seconds is the team goal, the outcome goal. Then you might say, all right, well, my job is to remove the right tire in 0.5 seconds, but it's still not really helping us until, okay, to do that, what I need to focus on and what I can picture myself doing is the grip position, the timing with the car, the alignment and the connection. Okay, so if the Formula One example is not quite floating your boat, let's bring that into basketball terms here. So if we look at some of those outcome goals, now it's really common that we're going to have these, which is, you know, in our mind, it goes to, will we win? What's the score going to be? Will I score? What will my stats be? Your selection, your minutes, and then success. Will I be good or bad? Okay, so these are outcomes. And when we think about outcomes, they're all in the future. And so if we think about them, our mind's going to go to the future, and we're going to start to think about what could go wrong with the future. And like you're saying, Shamar, we know what happens when we do that. So what we want to be able to think about then is, okay, what do I have to do in order to be able to get that result? So say you do want to win and you do want to do really well, like of course you do. Then we want to come back to these performance goals. You know, you could say, hold my defensive match up to a certain number of points for a game. And we might even say as a team, we want that high defensive intensity, limit that opposition scoring. So we're getting closer. Then what we're going to try and do is then break that down into controllable things again that we can picture in a basketball sense. So if you read through some of those, if they make sense. So what are you guys, I want to know what you guys are seeing in terms of the difference between the process goals and those other kind of goals. When you start to look at those individual process goals, where do you go to in your minds a wee bit more? I might just ask you that, Shamar, since you started us off as well. So appreciate your input.
The process is like how you're gonna get the overall goal.
They're controllable.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, and how do you feel when you look at those? And maybe Imani, Amelia as well. So if they're controllable, when you read those process goals, how do you feel different to when you read those outcome goals?
You can achieve them. Like the others, you can achieve them, but there's like a process you need to go through and you don't know what it is. But like if you have the process goals, then you know what you need to achieve the outcome, basically.
Yeah. You guys just give a hand. Who feels when they read the process goals, they get a different feeling as opposed to the feeling they get when they read the outcome goals? Yeah, because your brain, this is how we're operating. When we've got controllable things that we know we can do, then it's not like an absence of pressure, is it? You still feel like the need to do it, but then suddenly you've got something that you can do. And so your brain goes, yeah, all right, we've got that, we can do that, we know how to do this. And it's going to give you much more of a confident and stable feeling. So this is what we're going to be looking to come back to in a game. So just going to break that down for you, or rather you guys are going to break that down for us a little bit now. So if we have that basketball outcome goal of winning the game or doing well or performing well or not performing badly, and then you guys are given a performance goal for the team that we know it's going to take high defensive intensity, limit opposition scoring, and take our chances. What I want you guys to do now is just in pairs, just to come up with 1 or 2 examples in your pair of a process goal you could focus on to do that. So let's go, our focus is to win, and we're thinking about high defensive intensity. So just focus on that. We're winning, high defensive intensity. And so I want you to think about what could you do as a goal, as a process goal to bring about that high defensive intensity, something you could focus on and picture, something you'll be able to see yourself doing. Okay, so again, I'm going to chuck us into those little mini groups and those breakout rooms. Here we go, over to you. So just to come up with one or two of those process goals that you can focus on, you'll be able to see yourself doing, and that me with a little bit of basketball knowledge, definitely not as much as you guys, that if I was to watch your game, I'll be able to see whether you're doing it or whether you're not doing it as well. Okay, so over to you just for 1 minute. What did you guys come up with?
So we had a few. We had making sure to like jam and like box out at the end of every position, and then like lots of loud talk and communication, so that all keep connected.
Perfect. Okay, and then we'd be able to, if I was watching, I'd be able to see you do those things and see where you went away from it, and see where you stayed in it. And then also, if you're using your ABCs, accept the pressure, use your breath, just come back to those cues at different times.
Ours was quite similar,
Yeah,
but we also had, because we talked about communication and stuff, because if you lift the defense intensity, then it's also quite intimidating for the other team, hearing that
yeah.
everyone else talks. But we also had aggression, so being like really aggressive on defense will up the intensity, and knowing that your teammate is being really aggressive makes you want to be more aggressive.
Yeah, and so what would that look like if I was to see you doing that and you were being really aggressive in a defense? What would I see if I was watching the game or watching the footage?
You would see us like quite close to our players, like if we're marking them and not like
Yeah,
snagging off,
yeah,
and like trying to get tips on the ball and stuff, and then like when they pick up the ball, like just closing in on them and stuff, and being active in the passing lanes and all that good stuff.
yeah, yeah. Okay, and then even within that, you'd be able to, then if you said aggression, and if in doubt, you can always come back to that last quarter 2-point game, whatever the pressure situation is, then you could even just say that word to you, and you know that means close to the player, efforts for those tips, close quickly, active in the passing lanes. Yeah, room 3, what did you guys come up with? Sorry, Imani and Shama.
Yeah, very similar. Going off CNs, you'd see us like more going over the ball screen. So like the effort and energy to get up in our player, push him over the screen, and being in if we were in a hard show coverage, getting like taps at the ball. We also boxing out jamming was really said in our group. Also the bench, the hype. That would
Bench and height noise. Okay, I'm just
yeah.
going to record those quickly and get those down on there. And just in the interest of time, Liz and Madeline, I'm going to get you to hang on to yours. So you can see where we're going though with this is that we want to be really clear on what it is that we'll be doing, and then we can get focused on doing that. And then we're looking for that quick summary that we can come back to in the moment. So what I'm going to leave you with is your take home for this week. And you'll see it's really simple, just how the method, the system that we're working on is going to come together. And so it's this that we're going to practice as we go away during the next week, looking for those opportunities in training or competitive scenarios, even in games, where we're looking at practicing that ABC. So we've got your breathing technique that you're going to take, and then that C is that choice. So just a quick word and something you can lock back into in the minute when you're doing that breathing and you want to lock back into the game. Okay, so I'm going to wrap us up there for tonight, folks. Thank you for your attention and your input. And so remembering any opportunities you can find, and this is your takeaway, if we practice it now, then it's going to be ready for us when we get to tournament. If we practice in the next game, it's going to be even more practiced for that game after that. So it's ready for the pressure, and we're going to build that experience. So ABCs, looking at those process goals, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks everyone for your attention. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank